You never believed in the old stories, the tales your grandmother used to whisper late at night when the wind howled outside your small village home. But that was before you met the Tokoloshe. It started innocently enough, or so you thought. After your grandmother passed away, you moved into her old house. It was a modest place, a single-room cottage with a thatched roof and creaky wooden floors. The kind of place where every shadow seemed to have life of its own. You could still remember her warnings, how she would urge you to never let your feet dangle off the bed at night. The Tokoloshe, she said, her voice dropping to a near whisper, lives in the shadows, and it waits for careless souls. You never took her seriously. But that first night alone in the house, something felt wrong. As you lay in the bed, the wind outside was unusually still, and the night seemed darker than it should be. You brushed it off as nerves and pulled the thin blanket tighter around yourself. It wasn't until you turned off the light that you felt the shift. A faint scraping around came from beneath the bed. Your heart skipped a beat, but you told yourself it was nothing, maybe a rat or the house settling. You rolled over, trying to focus on sleep, but the sound continued, a soft, rhythmic scratching like nails dragging across wood. The noise crawled under your skin, setting your nerves alight. You sat up in bed, holding your breath. The scraping stopped. For a moment, there was nothing but the sound of your own heart thudding in your chest. Then, from the corner of your eye, you saw it. A dark figure, hunched, standing in the shadows by the far corner, half hidden by the flicker of moonlight through the window. You froze, your body paralyzed by fear. It was too small to be a person, but too large to be anything else. The figure shifted slightly, its round eyes gleaming, watching you with a predatory stillness. Then it moved. Slowly at first, as if testing you. Creeping toward the foot of your bed, every inch of your skin prickled, and your grandmother's warning screamed in your mind. The Tokoloshe. You had laughed at her stories. You had never raised your bed like she told you, and now it was here. You yanked your feet under the cover, terrified to let them hang over the edge. The creature's breath, low and raspy, filled the room as it came closer. A strange, acrid smell hung in the air, like damp earth and rot. As it neared the foot of the bed, you couldn't take it anymore. You threw yourself from the mattress and flickered on the light. You threw yourself on the mattress and flicked on the light, expecting the shadows to vanish. But the Tokoloshe didn't disappear. It crouched there, in plain view now, no longer hiding in the shadow. Its leathery skin was mottled and gray, its limbs short and twisted. The eyes, huge, gleaming black orbs, stared at you, unblinking, and its mouth was filled with sharp, uneven teeth, grinning at you like it knew something you didn't. You backed away, pressing yourself against the wall, too scared to scream. The Tokoloshe tilted its head, its eyes never leaving you. Then it did something that chilled your blood. It slowly crawled back under the bed. You heard its nails scraping across the floor again as it settled beneath you, hidden but not gone. You stood frozen, unsure of what to do. You couldn't stay in the room with this thing, but you were too terrified to leave the safety of the bed. Hours passed, your legs cramping from standing in the same spot, every small creak of the house making you flinch. You waited, praying that morning would come and light of day would banish the nightmare. Eventually, exhaustion took over. You climbed back onto the bed, careful not to let your feet hang over the edge. You lay there, wide awake, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the Tokoloshe to make its move. But the creature remained silent. No more scraping, no more breathing. It was as if it had vanished. Just when you began to think, maybe it left, maybe it was all in your head, you felt it. A cold skeletal hand wrap around your ankle. Panic surged through you, but before you could react, it yanked hard, You screamed, kicking wildly, trying to break free as you were dragged off to bed. Your head hit the floor with a thud, and stars exploded behind your eyes. But the fear overpowered the pain. The Tokoloshe was dragging you towards the shadows, toward the space under the bed where it disappeared. You clawed at the floorboards, nails splintering as you tried to stop yourself from being pulled into the darkness. You screamed for help, but your voice seemed to die in your throat. No one would hear you in this isolated house. Just as you felt yourself slipping beneath the bed, you remembered something your grandmother used to say. Every night before bed, you should sprinkle a circle of salt around the room, muttering something under your breath. Desperate, you grabbed the small jar of salt she had left on the nightstand and flung it at the Tokoloshe's hand. The creature let out a guttural hiss and recoiled, the grip loosening. You scrambled to your feet and grabbed the jar, scattering salt around the entire bed in a frantic circle. The Tokoloshe shrieked from under the bed, and for a moment you saw its eyes peering out of the shadows, filled with malice and hunger. But it didn't cross the line. You stayed awake all night, huddled on the bed, salt surrounding you, like a barrier. The Tokoloshe didn't return that night, but the feeling of its cold hand around your ankle lingered after the sun rose. You moved out of your grandmother's house the very next day, leaving behind the memories and the shadows. But no matter where you go, you could still hear the scraping sound, sometimes faint and unmistakable. And every night you make sure to sprinkle salt around your bed, just in case. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, or if it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. My name is Stone Rock, and today we're talking about gnome-like creatures from around the world. The intro story was obviously about the Tokoloshe. We'll get more into that creature later on in the video. But for right now, let's go ahead and get started. Tommyknockers. Cornish and American folklore. Tommyknockers come from the mining folklore of Cornwall in the UK and made their way to America with Cornish miners in the 19th century. These creatures are said to live deep within the mines, knocking on walls to either warn miners of danger or lure them into deadly traps. Miners describe them as small, dwarf-like figures, no more than 2 foot tall, wearing miners' garb, their faces wrinkled and mischievous. Some say the knocking is a sign of impending disaster, like a cave-in, while others claim that the creatures are playing tricks on those who venture too deep. Though they can be helpful, Tommyknockers are best left undisturbed. Anger them, and you might find yourself lost in the dark with the sound of knocking getting closer and closer. The Tokoloshe. The Tokoloshe comes from Zulu mythology in southern Africa, and while it may seem small and almost gnome-like, this creature is far more malevolent than any of its European counterparts. According to legend, the Tokoloshe is an evil spirit or dwarf-like being, often summoned by a witch to cause harm. Its appearance varies depending on the region, but it's often described as a small, hairy, with an almost human-like body, but twisted in unnatural ways. What makes the Tokoloshe so terrifying isn't just its looks, but what it does. The creature is known to sneak into homes at night, crawling under beds to suffocate its victims while they sleep, or even cause illness. To protect themselves, people raise their beds off the floor with bricks so the Tokoloshe can't reach them. So next time you feel something tugging at your blanket in the middle of the night, you might want to check beneath your bed, or better yet, raise it up a few feet. Not that it's necessarily the Tokoloshe, but there is I don't think it has a name, but there is the thing where, like, don't let your hands and feet hang off the edge of the bed at night. I do that too. I actually kind of sleep cockeyed in the bed. That way my hands and feet don't hang off the edge. I also pull the blankets up around my neck too a lot, but that's more of a comfort thing. The Nisse, Scandinavian folklore, I might be saying that wrong. It's spelled Nisse, but it's from Scandinavian folklore. In the snowy landscapes of Scandinavia, tales of the Nisse have been passed down for generations. These small, gnome-like creatures are typically seen as protectors of farms and households, but they aren't always friendly. Standing about 3 feet tall, with long beard and pointed red hat, the Nise looks like your typical gnome, but cross one and you're in a world of trouble. The Nise is fiercely protective of its home, and can even be quick to anger if it feels disrespected. Forget to leave out a bowl of porridge on Christmas Eve, and the Nise might sabotage your farm, spoil your crops, or worse, curse your family. So the next time you're in Scandinavia countryside, be sure to leave out an offering. You never know who might be watching. The Duende, Latin American folklore. In Latin American folklore, particularly in Mexico, the Duende is a mischievous gnome-like being that lives in the forest, caves, and sometimes even the walls of your homes. These little creatures are usually no more than a foot tall, with a strange, almost human appearance, but with exaggerated features like oversized ears or wide, toothy grins. Duendes are known for playing tricks on people, especially children. They might steal small items, hide shoes, or tug on your hair when you're not looking. But it's not all harmless fun. There are darker stories of the Duende luring children into the forest, never being seen again. Their laughter might sound playful, but be warned, Duendes aren't always friendly. Kobolds. German folklore. The German kobold is a creature of many forms, sometimes seen as gnome-like figure, other times more ghostly or imp-like. Kobolds are also a character in D&D, and they're more anthropomorphic. A lot of the times they're like kind of hyena headed with like humanoid bodies. That's a lot of the times that's how they're actually portrayed in video games, is kind of animal headed. But in German folklore, they are often found in mines or homes where they can either help or hinder humans by the encounter. Miners would leave offerings for kobolds, hoping to gain their favor. A happy kobold might help you guide a miner to valuable ore. An angry one could cause accidents or hide important tools. In households, kobolds might clean your home or make a mess of it, depending on how they're treated. So, if something goes missing in your house, it might just be a kobold playing tricks on you. The leprechaun, Irish folklore. The leprechaun is perhaps one of the most famous gnome-like creatures, hailing from Irish folklore. These small, bearded men are known for their trickery, but they are also fiercely protective of their hidden pots of gold. Legend has it that if you capture a leprechaun, he will grant you 3 wishes in exchange for his release. But be careful, their tricks can turn your wishes into curses. Leprechauns are solitary creatures, often found in the forests or old ruins of Ireland, repairing shoes or counting their gold. But don't let their size fool you. They're clever and not to be trusted. The next time you're in Ireland and you see a rainbow, be wary of what waits at the end. The boggart, English folklore. In English folklore, the boggart is a small, shape-shifting creature that lives in dark corners of houses, barns, or the countryside. While they may seem gnome-like, boggarts are far more sinister than their more benevolent cousins. A boggart is said to cause mischief, playing pranks that range from hiding things to breaking objects. However, in more malicious tales, boggarts are known to torment families, causing nightmares, sickness, or even death. Once a boggart takes up residence in your home, it's nearly impossible to get rid of it. So if things start going wrong in your home, it might just be bad luck. Or it could be a boggart. The Menehune, Hawaiian folklore. In Hawaiian folklore, the Menehune are small, gnome-like creatures that live deep in forests and the valleys of the Hawaiian Islands. Standing about 2 foot tall, these beings are said to be skilled builders, capable of constructing huge structures like fish ponds, temples, and roads, all in a single night. While the Menehune are generally seen as peaceful, they are also very secretive, and if you stumble upon them while they're working, they might vanish into thin air. But if you offend them, they can be tricksters, playing pranks, or even causing you to lose your way in the forest. So if you ever visit Hawaii and find a mysterious structure in the middle of nowhere, it might just be the work of the Menehune. Gremlins, modern folklore. Though gremlins are more of a modern creation, they have roots in folklore. Popularized during World War II, Gremlins were blamed by pilots for mysterious mechanical failures in aircraft. These small, imp-like creatures were said to sabotage planes, causing them to malfunction mid-flight. Gremlins are often described as small, ugly creatures with mischievous grins, and though they aren't always visible, their handiwork is unmistakable. Whether it's malfunctioning machines or something that just doesn't work the way it should, people still jokingly blame gremlins for their technical troubles today. So next time your car won't start, maybe it's not the battery. It could be a gremlin. Redcaps, Scottish folklore. I am vaguely familiar with redcaps. My only experience with them is in RPGs where they usually work for hags. But this was a kind of a fun read. The redcap is one of the most terrifying creatures in Scottish folklore. These gnome-like beings live in the ruins of castles and old battlefields, where they wait for unwary travelers. Redcaps are known for their bloodlust, and they get their name from their hats, which are said to be dyed in the blood of their victims. Standing only about a few feet tall, redcaps carry pikes or scythes. Despite their size, they are incredibly fast and deadly. If you encounter one, your only chance is to outrun it, because if it catches you, it'll dip its cap in your blood and maybe add you to its grisly collection. And there you have it. There's 10 of the creepiest and sometimes deadliest gnome-like creatures from around the world. Whether they're mischievous, protective, or downright deadly, these small beings have captured the imagination and fear of people for centuries. So next time you're out in the woods, or even in your own home, pay close attention. You never know what might be watching you from the shadows. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you're always up to date whenever we upload new videos. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about these small gnome-like creatures. If you want to add any more gnome-like creatures, put them down in the comments. And, we might be able to do a part 2. But, yeah. Hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Where others say